When I was getting booked before I came over, there was a quote that was said to me that said, each of us need all of us. No matter what your position is at this college, you are here for the students. There's no position, no matter what you do, that is not important. You are key in moving this thing forward. And so I like to use an example. So what was the prerequisite before getting onto a bike and learning how to ride a bike? Who said tricycle? You get a prize for the day. But a tricycle, and so you got to understand, it has 1, 2, 3 wheels on it, correct? It has 3 wheels on it. Now you have the big wheel up front. So you would say like, that's the steering wheel. That's the one that kind of keeps everything rolling, keeps everything moving. And then you have the 2 wheels in the back. Well, that example is interesting because if you remove any one of those wheels, is that tricycle operational? Every wheel is needed. Now, the big wheel obviously is the most important wheel. However, without those 2 wheels in the back, it doesn't work. And so for this morning, I want us to look at our tricycle model as a means for us to move forward from the standpoint of the big wheel up front, the most important wheel, is the students. It is the big wheel. It is what drives the bus. It is what is the engine of this institution going forward. However, those 2 back wheels, faculty and staff, you need all 3 of those for this thing to move forward and be operational. And there's reasons why you get into this profession. You know, you want to empower, you want to educate, you want to support. All of those different things are needed for us to move this forward. Because, you know, like I said, I grew up with school teachers. I've heard all of it from the old school up to the current time right now. And the bottom line is that you all put in way more hours than what's required. You cut your summers nearly in half. And what's most important of all of them, you see those students as an extended family of yours. And you all are in such privileged positions with your credentials and different things, PhDs and all of those things. But at the end of the day, you're here because you care. Once again, we have to remember that there is one common denominator as to why we're here right now. And that's the students. The title for tonight is From Motivation to Innovation. Motivation is the general willingness or desire to do something. And innovation basically just means a new idea or method. So basically, it is the choice to do something new. And our first part starts with successful engagement. I remember, student engagement has been one of the #1 things that has been happening across the board, whether it's in grade school all the way up to the college level. And the reason why student engagement is so important is because attention spans have gone from this to about that. When it comes to successful engagement, it comes down to really 3 things that we have to look at, and you all have already probably utilized these tools already. And I call it the triple D effect. It's called decide, discuss, and develop. Decide, man, making a decision. You know, how many times in your class have you posed a question and somebody be like, I'm not really sure. Yes, we live in the gray. However, you still have to make a decision and live with those results. And really what it comes down to as educators, it's all about really empowering them, empowering the student to think for his or herself. And we have to understand that sometimes in our working to empower them, they may not have all come from areas or backgrounds as we have. And I had to learn that the absolute hard way. I was at an inner city school, and there were 62 underclassmen. Of those 62 kids, 6 of them had children. But I said, okay, the opinion you have of you is the only one that matters. What are some of the things you've heard people say about you that you know not to be true? Good people, I nearly cried when I heard what I heard. One kid stood up and said, I was told I would never amount to anything. Another kid stood up and said, I was told that I won't live to see past 18. Another person stood up and said, you know, it's just whatever. Like, I don't even know how much I care about this thing called life. And I'm just like, what just happened? You know, what type of mindset gets to the point where you're 16, 17 years old, 15, 14 years old, and this is your dominant mindset? And so when I heard that, I said, you know what? If nobody has ever told you this, I will tell you this right now. You are more than enough. And the opinion of you matters. And anything you've heard that says anything other than you being born a winner is an absolute lie. And so when you talk about student engagement, we have to look at the idea that that could be the dominant personalities. That could be the dominant mindset that is coming in to your classroom. And so, yes, does that make your job a little bit harder? Yes, it does. However, it's not the amount of how many you save. It's just the idea that if you can just get one, if it can be single digits of one or two to call you back and say, you know what? You were the reason I did what I did. That's all that matters. Remember, each of us needs all of us. Do you know how important it can be if in between you going to grab something from the cafeteria and you cross paths with a student and you see one of them and you say, how are you doing today? And that person may have their head down, they may have their head up, but you have no idea if that quick commentary was what they needed at that time. And so know that all those little things, what may seem little, may be the difference that somebody needed at that time in their life. And really, really what it comes down to, we talked about empowerment. We talked about empowering our youth, talk about empowering these students coming through this institution. And really, really what it comes down to, the empowering will somewhat dissolve the newfound level of entitlement that we've seen. Remember, that tricycle, that big wheel in the front, has more air, it's bigger, it's the one everybody sees more than ever. However, without those two back wheels, that big wheel is insignificant and can do nothing. So these students who come in on this campus, they cannot progress forward without that support staff and without this faculty that's here. So what I need you to do, I need you to see your value. I need you to see your commitment. And I need to see, you need to see the good in others that you already see in yourself.